You sure do like to share your opinions, talking big like somebody's listening. Nobody's listening.
Max! Oh!
Hit the ignition. Now you listen. Hop up in the window. Smaller and smaller you fade down. Hop up in the window.
Alright, so we've done this video 3 times in the season, regular season. We did a round up to rounds 1 to 9, rounds 1 to 20, I think, and a full regular season one. Now we're just doing the final. So we're only moving 8 teams that made the 8, which are these 8 teams right here. So I'm going to leave Carlton at doing okay. Obviously, based on last season, it's pretty bad, only just scraping finals. Based on the context of the season, they may be lucky to make the 8. But yeah, doing okay, I'll keep them there. Brisbane should be higher. Let's move them up to where they should be. I mean, you can't get much higher than the grand final. I think they're back to where they should be. They've been a top team for a little while now. Regular season, they're in the finals for multiple seasons. Couldn't get the finals right until 2022. But when they got it right, the second time trying last year, they got to the grand final, lost by only 4 points. Won it this year by 60 points against Sydney Swans. So fair enough, they are right at the top of this. So that is elite. The Western Bulldogs, I'm going to move them down here. I think they are better than what they've shown us this season. Hawthorn are incredible. We've been great this season, so obviously us beating them was not a surprise to me. I even tipped the Hawthorn Hawks in that game. But I think the Bulldogs are better than what they've been doing the last 2 years. Last year they missed out in the 8, they should have been there. This year they got in the 8 and they played some good football, but after the first quarter didn't turn up against Hawks team that's not been in the finals for quite a few years. I think they should be better than week 1 elimination. But yeah, position-wise in the ladder, maybe not too high, but definitely week 1 elimination for them, I think is pretty bad. So I put it should be higher. So we swapped them to a round for now. Their opponents, obviously Hawthorn, here we are, exceeding. 3 points off a prelim. Well, technically 4 points, because 3 points would be a draw. But 4 points off the preliminary final. We've done ourselves proud. We won a finals game. Our first finals win since we won the flag in 2015. There's the 10th season since then. Yeah, it's just brilliant what we've done. So we're definitely exceeding. Speaking of Hawthorn, the team we lost to, Port Adelaide, I'm not going to say exceeding anymore. I'm going to say there. They reached the prelim. I'm going to say they should be there. Because in regular season, they were second best team after Sydney. They smashed Sydney as well. Had some big wins. Them getting to the prelim, I think, where they should be. And they should be doing well in finals. But I think Ken Hinkley holds them back a little bit. And it's partly the squad as well, but it's also Hinkley I feel like he's better regular season than finals. I don't think he's good enough to win in the Premiership. But Port should always be up there, I think. Not always, but this season definitely. They have a strong enough team for it. What's the other semi? Yeah, obviously with Brisbane, as we've already done. GWS. Straight sets exits. It's, you know what? Underachieved. They underachieved. It has to be said. Last year, they had a bad start to the season, but they recovered. And they had a great end to the season, and then were only 1 point away from the grand final. Well, 1 point away from a draw, but 2 points away from the grand final against Collingwood in the prelim at the MCG. They were a very strong team. They looked ready to challenge again. This year, top 4 finish, which they got. Had a bit of a blip regular season, mid-season, but for the most part, they were great. Had started the season like 6 wins to nothing, I think. Then they had a slip up, and then they came back strong. But in the finals, they lost Lee's 28 points, 44 points to consecutive weeks, straight sets exit. It's not good. It's not good. I think they've underachieved. I think they are better than that. And considering they had a commanding lead in both games, as on top of that, against two grand finalists, that's on them. Underachievers, in my opinion. So that leaves Sydney and Geelong. Yeah, that leaves Sydney and Geelong. It might seem harsh, but underachievers. Why? Because of the grand final. 2 years ago, they got smashed in the grand final. They came back 2 years later and once again didn't turn up. That has to be said, has to be pointed out. Basically, after quarter time, they were not in the game, essentially. Like, they had a sniff in the second quarter only because the umpire gave 50-metre penalty. Apart from that, Brisbane just smashed it second, third and fourth quarters. First quarter looked like Sydney might win the game, but only for a few minutes. That's the only time it felt like they'd win the game. But considering how embarrassing it was in the grand final, I can't overlook that. Yes, they were the best team most of the season. Yes, they were great in the finals before the grand final. But because of the manner they lost the grand final, they got smashed twice in 3 years now. They've not turned up in 2 grand finals in 3 years. They've lost their last 4 grand finals. The first time that's happened since St Kilda. They have lost. They've had 7 grand finals in the last 20 years. Only won 2 of those. So it has to be said, they have a knack of losing grand finals. And the fact that they're getting smashed, and the fact that the average in the last 4 grand finals is 60 points as well, which is what they lost by today, it's not good enough. So underachievers, bad. Geelong, I'm going to say where they should be. I didn't think they'd win the premiership. I didn't have them down for that this season. I thought it was possible, but I didn't predict that would happen. I also obviously didn't want it to happen, but still. I think them reaching a prelim and losing a close game. Remember, they were leading with 2 minutes 40, I think, something like that. Ollie Henry, when he scored that goal, was a great goal as well. Geelong could have won that game. That game could have gone either way. It wasn't like they got embarrassed. They fought hard in the prelim. They played well. It's just that Brisbane played a little bit better, especially towards the end. And Brisbane, in the end, got the win. But there's no shame in losing that game because it was very close. Yes, they'll be heartbroken. They'll be sad, of course. They lost very late. But context matters. Geelong played well that game. They don't need to hang their heads in shame for that fixture. So, doing great, I think it's fine for them. You know, top 4, prelim final, more than good enough, I think, by their standards. And they won a flag 2 years ago, so maybe not as much pressure as the Lions to win that game on top of that. But yeah, where they should be, I'm going to say where they should be. I think they're good enough for a prelim. And they played great in the prelim. So they were not far off a grand final. It's a good thing they've not won 2 flags in 3 years. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, there you go. That is my final ranking. Obviously, the rest of the teams already decided in the previous video about this end of round 24. But yeah, underachievers, the 2 Sydney teams. Bulldogs, I think, are better than that. Carlton are just okay. But I knew they'd lose to Brisbane easily. These 3 doing great and where they should be, I feel. And we were easily exceeding. I could be biased, but based on the start of the season, maybe like 1% of AFL fans thought we'd be in, maybe not even 1%, thought we'd be in the 8. Like, no one saw that coming. No one saw that coming, apart from people taking risks and people just being too biased towards Hawthorn. No one saw us coming like that. People expected a rebuild over a couple years. We were ahead of schedule, made the finals, won a final, only 3 points off a prelim. We can do ourselves proud. I think I am justified in us being the only team that exceeded. This is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and goodbye.
Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time where